into the Gaming Discourse. I'm Tyler Frater alongside Richard De La Cruz.
Hello.
And Chief Engineer, Lieutenant Commander Connor Frater.
Good evening.
It is Monday, October 24th, 2022. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook at The Gaming Discourse. Go to our YouTube channel, YouTube/Gaming Discourse. Patreon.com/The Gaming Discourse. You can support us, get your name in the credits, stuff like that. Lots of news to get into, lots of games to talk about. We have an update on the Bayonetta pay dispute that we'll be talking about. I amended the previous podcast. We'll get to this. I don't think anything we said last week was wrong, because I went back thinking, because news broke, right? Well, you know what? We'll get to it when we talk about it. Let's just talk about the games that we've been playing. Connor, you go ahead and start us off.
I haven't been playing a lot, but what little I have played, I've put into the game U-Boat.
Yeah.
Where you play as a U-Boat captain during World War II, the Kriegsmarine. It balances a line between like arcade and simulator, and you can influence it which way it goes by tweaking the settings. But it is really fun. It adds, I was about to say depth of challenge. Mainly because U-boats were really fragile.
Sure.
They weren't made to, withstand any sort of damage. They were really stealth ships. If you were spotted or if attention was brought to you, it was more than likely you were gonna die. And that's actually referenced at the start of the game when you launch it, a new campaign. It mentions that over half of the Kriegsmarine who are in the U-boat program died at sea, which is terrifyingly high. But yeah, the game takes place obviously during World War II. You can start it. There are several different start points that modify how difficult the game is right off the bat. But yeah, it's fun sailing around, sinking boats.
Yeah, that's one game that I have waited for a long time to get into. It's been in early access for a few years.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, submarine combat is one of those things that if you could take away the death and all the horrifying things that come with how you can die, it seems like it'd be really fun. Because we played Iron Wolf, and Iron Wolf is an excellent VR game that is it's similar. It's kind of a pseudo World War II setting, but it's got some technological stuff that wasn't there, but it's pretty similar. And then obviously Cold Waters. We've talked a lot about Cold Waters and how good Cold Waters is. But yeah, this one, like you have to manage like your food and stuff, correct?
Yes,
and your fuel and so it can be like
it's more milsim in the fact that you're also doing the supplies on your ship.
Yeah.
So you purchase supplies while in port, purchase torpedoes, fuel, any equipment you might need, spare parts, first aid kits, rifles. One resource that is invaluable, coffee.
Sure.
And like rebreathers in case like fires and stuff on the ship and you need clean oxygen for your crew.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm looking. Yeah, I think I may try to get into that because I've been playing.
It's getting close to full release. I remember seeing somewhere that it's like within the next few months they're planning on doing full release.
And do they have a VR plan? Is that no? That must be because I know there's Iron Wolf, but I know there's another submarine game that has VR something planned, but I don't remember which one it is.
I don't think it's
U-boat.
U-boat. Thank you.
Okay. Richard.
Hey, I haven't been playing anything different. Still doing Overwatch 2, having a lot more fun figuring out how everything has changed and what characters can do now compared to what they used to be able to do, and finding out new counters and just team compositions and stuff. But it's been fun. I just am I should be excited because the Halloween event is coming up.
Oh yeah.
Actually I think it's going on right now. But we're not going to get anything. Like this is the first event where we're not as players going to get something in return for doing an event. In Overwatch 1, you'd play an event and you'd get skins, you'd get
some
stuff.
little tchotchkes.
But now there's nothing because it's free to play now. It's monetized. So now anything that's worth a damn or anything that would be interesting, like
you gotta pay for.
Yeah. especially like Kiriko's new outfit, which is one of the cutest outfits I've ever seen. Like she's a witch, and it really works with her. It's $20, $20 for this skin, and it's insane because if it was $5, I would be like, maybe. Sure, maybe. And I know a lot of more people would. I try to use this analogy at work. I know it's a terrible analogy, but if like 2 gas stations on the corner, one was $20, one was $10, eventually the $10 would make more money because more people are going to go to that one. You know what I mean? So it's just...
You think it doesn't make sense.
And I'm not trying to say like it's not expensive to create the outfit and whatnot.
You know, that's
and all that.
Yeah.
But the cost does not... The cost outweighs the justification.
Well, that's I don't know. That's an extremely complex discussion.
It is,
because how much should an artist get paid for making? Okay, a video game skin should have cost $20. I have no idea. My guess is probably not.
No.
My guess is, I think you could extrapolate that and say, okay, can you sell Overwatch 2 at $70 a pop? Mm-hmm. Everything in it, it's not monetized. Everything in it is free. Can you create sustainable income as a company doing that? I think the answer to that is also yes.
Yeah.
But I think executives know that by selling skins at $20, there are whales that'll disproportionately spend more than other people, that'll generate the income, and that income is more, and has more of a tail
it's more
than a $70
for them too, yeah.
Than a $70 launch or something like that. So the question of, is a skin worth $20? I think it's almost, that point almost doesn't matter, because whether or not it should be $20, the environment that it's in shouldn't exist in the first place. I think that's the bigger discussion and the more worthwhile discussion to have. And we've talked about cosmetics a lot. My opinion about it has always been, if Insurgency Sandstorm is a small company, a small developer, they started as modders. It's not a very big game. It's a niche game. They have cosmetics you can buy as microtransactions and DLC, right?
Yeah.
I think the context there is different. They're a smaller studio. They make a niche shooter that not a ton of people are playing. So like, okay, as opposed to a giant company like Activision Blizzard monetizing their game the way that they do, that's a different context, and I think that makes the video game industry worse. It sucks that Halo monetizes itself the way that it does now, because that makes the game worse. Cosmetics are just as important as in-game stuff. If they weren't, people wouldn't spend hours and hours and hours and hours and hours customizing their characters in single-player games. But, and I'm just saying this because I think, I don't know, I think it's relevant and important to say with how pervasive cosmetic microtransactions have become. And it really sucks in Halo Infinite, because I don't know if you've played. I haven't played it in a few months, and I won't for a long time if I ever do again. But like when it came out, the way Halo's always been is if you could customize your armor, and when you went into a team game, your armor changed color to fit your team. Right. And Halo Infinite, instead of doing that, it put an apparatus around you, a little outline, and your character like glowed a color, which was ugly, first of all. But the reason they did that was because if you got some stupid chess piece with some stupid camouflage that was super rare or some bullshit, they didn't want people going into team games and being dissuaded by that, because then your armor changes red. So they came up with this inelegant solution where your character model just shines a certain color unless you're really up close to that person, and then you see that person's armor, but they have a red outline around them, or a blue outline if they're the blue team. And I hate that. I hate that that years of customizing my Spartan the same way, this long legacy, got trampled on because some fucking executive at Microsoft decided, hey, we need to turn Halo into the same monetization that has ruined a lot of other cosmetic stuff. Anyway, sorry to talk about this, Richard.
No, well, I mean, I brought it up to talk about it. So that's unfortunate. And I wonder how that will affect, because eventually after a couple years of playing Overwatch, I stopped playing Overwatch because games were it's not that I didn't like it, but more games were coming out. Things got my attention. But I would still always come back during events because
oh yeah, you're right.
It was cool. It was new. It was and I was able to get cool things, and I would play more and longer in order to get those things. And now I kind of sit here and I'm just like, well, I'm gonna end up not playing Overwatch one day, maybe, probably. But what's gonna bring me back? Besides the I feel like playing Overwatch, which we'll see if that happens again.
I mean, as time continues, that'll all decrease.
Yeah, always.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll see. And then, I don't foresee them rolling back what they're doing already.
Yeah.
Because it is also just, Hi-Res Studios, who makes Rogue Company, which I was playing for a bit too. And you get one of their skins for their characters somewhere between $7 and $12, which is a lot. However, when you play, whether you have a battle pass or not, you still at some point gain currency to eventually purchase those. Whether it be the free currency that they have or the paid for currency. You just have to, play more. You have to get more free currency in order to spend to get, disproportionate. Yeah. But in Overwatch, there's nothing. You don't get, even in the battle pass, you don't get money like you would in Apex Legends. In Apex Legends, if you buy, or Call of Duty, if you buy a battle pass, if you complete the battle pass, you'll end up getting like 200 or 300 points more than what you paid in order to pay for the next battle pass for free, and then go. And that's like a way better way to incentivize longer gameplay than what Overwatch has now. So that's the absolute biggest downside, and probably will be its downfall for me as continuing to play that game. But beyond that, I also still am playing Genshin Impact, and we are on patch 3.2, which is coming out. So Genshin every month and a half to 2 months releases a new patch. And one thing about the game, obviously it makes a shit ton of money, but with the money that it makes, it's able to pump out these not only events, but story events fairly quickly for a free-to-play game. And so I think it deserves some credit there. But in this instance, I think I talked about it. We're in a new area called Sumeru. We have a big chunk that was unlocked at first, and we're dealing with one of the gods who is being, we find out, being trapped by the academia, controls the knowledge of everybody. So
okay.
Basically their former god died and she appeared in its place. Like people would do, they go, this isn't our god, whatever. We don't they refused her. Now they're doing what they're doing. So they've pulled a lot of new interesting storytelling tricks this time around. There's still exposition, but there was you kind of had this investigation sequence of figuring out what was going on, and there ended up being time loops. So you find out that characters in that nation don't dream, and your character's like, what? What do you mean you don't dream? And everybody is wearing a device that you can access knowledge immediately, whatever you want to know. But of course there's knowledge that's well, no, you can't. You can't know that.
Restricted knowledge.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah, and there are
it's like Forbidden West, kind of.
Right. Yeah, and then there are eremites from the desert who come to the land, but they don't like eremites. So if they get one, they can only access a certain amount. They can't access a lot because it already recognizes that they're from the desert. And there's that aspect going on. So your characters are working with characters from the academia and characters from the desert to kind of figure out what's going on, and it's enthralling, but they always put it in 3 parts. So when it first came out, we got the first part. We recently got the second part that I just finished. Now they did a live stream to show off the final part and the final boss of what's going to be in that area before we move on to the next area. But it's still very exciting, still very interesting, because we also got a new element that was introduced. So now there's people figuring out team compositions for, if fire hits grass, it's going to spread and catch on fire. Cool. So, and if, of course you bring out a water character and splash water, it's going to extinguish and stuff like that. But if a character is burning and then you hit them with water, you do what's called vaporize, and that causes a specific type of damage.
Oh, okay. Fun.
Someone's wet and electricity, then you get. So they introduced grass, which it's weird. If you hit it with water, it produces a seed. and if you hit that seed with electricity, it explodes it and like shoots out into like homing missiles.
Oh, wow.
So they've thought of some neat things with that. It doesn't make sense in the grand scheme of how elements actually work, but provided a lot more fun and a lot more discovery in the world, especially the desert area. You'd expect the desert area to be boring, but it's very beautiful, surprisingly. Yeah, that's it. Just Genshin and Overwatch.
Okay. Yeah, I've been playing Asterigos a lot. Asterigos is a way bigger than I thought it was going to be. I thought I was close to the end, and it ended up being way bigger. It's still really good. I'm having fun with it. So it's a Souls Light. I'm playing on the medium difficulty. I don't know how much harder it would be on the hard difficulty, but it has elements of a Souls like, and I talked about that last week too. I haven't been able to get to it as much this week, but I'm about 30 hours in now.
Oh, wow.
Still having a lot of fun. I've used every weapon. Every weapon works differently. There's dagger, sword and shield, hammer, spear, and like gauntlets. Mm-hmm. And all of them attack differently and have different things. And I've used every single one now, and each one has their own upgrade tree and upgrades, and it's not a bad thing. I've enjoyed using each weapon and figuring stuff out. The city of Aphis they really take their time. There is a ton of lore in the game. It's kind of silly how much lore is in this game, because you learn all about the city and you learn all these details about things in the city, and it's cool, but it's also difficult to juggle all this stuff that's going on, especially once you're introduced to it, because you're not given like explanations. You're just given pieces of information that you just sort of piece together. But the city is really interesting. And like I talked about last week, there's a lot of themes in the game. But the city is a class that has very strict class system. One of the main antagonists is a person from a high class who through reforms tries to make the city and its culture better for the slaves and the people on the lower end of the caste system. Then that creates friction with some of the other characters in the game and stuff like that. And as an outsider, it's interesting because your character, it's kind of awkward though, because your character comes from a different city, but you're really unaware of what the culture is like where you come from. So you don't know how Hilda, who is the main character, like slaves, for example, you don't know what Hilda thinks of slaves. You see her as somebody who definitely has like a moral sinner. She's comes across as someone who's idealistic and believes in justice, but there's a lot of injustice in Aphis, and you're not really sure what she feels about it. But it's interesting to see it all play out. There's this thing called, the game is about stardust, which is this mineral that helps keep people in Aphis alive, I think. And it's highly regulated, so only like certain classes get a certain amount of stardust and stuff like that. But there's a cult that gets rid of their stardust dependency, right? Which it kind of comes across like this city has an addiction problem. That's almost like what it's a metaphor for. And this cult is people that have turned to something else to get rid of this addiction. But this cult also turns them into monsters. So it's this weird situation where it's like their motives are sympathetic because they want to overcome this problem that is not only detrimental to their health, but also there's a systemic inequality in how the stardust is distributed. But at the same time, it turns them evil and they go and start killing people. So it's like, okay, so, are they evil? Mm-hmm. Are they people that just tried to find an exit to a bad situation and then that led them down dark paths? So there's lots of little tiny interesting tidbits like that. Before I start writing, I'll have to sit down and really figure out the story. But I'm surprised how expansive it is. The combat's getting a little
samey.
Yeah. The boss fights are really cool. But yeah, combat with enemies is getting a little samey. There are enemies with shields and enemies with different moves, but there's never an enemy where I'm like, ah, shit, it's one of these guys, like something like that, like you'd experience in a Dark Souls. I am playing on medium. If you play it on hard, maybe the game gets different. Maybe I do have those, ah, shit, it's one of these guys moments. But yeah, I almost want to say the game is too long, but everything that it adds, I feel like I come away and I'm like, oh, okay, that was interesting. Oh, that was thought-provoking. Oh, that was, yeah. I don't come away like, oh my God, can I just get past this already? This is like, there are moments where the dialogue is like, there's so much dialogue, but, so yeah, it's a weird thing. And the game is also, I think, like only $40. I don't talk about price a lot.
Yeah.
But I thought 40, and, you know, you kind of have an idea of, okay, games are priced lower so you can have different expectations. But then I got to like the ending of a major quest line that I thought was toward the end of the game. And, you know, it was like, okay, now here's 4 more areas to go. I was like, what?
Jeez.
So yeah, there's a lot more.
You finished the first act.
Yeah. Right. Oh my God. That's how it was with Returnal. I'm sorry.
Finish the first third of the first act.
Other than that, I've been playing a little bit more NCAA 10. It's just a dumb thing that I'll eventually get over. I will say this about NCAA 10. It was made in a different era.
Yeah.
Because
a decade ago.
There are little he's laughing the hardest at his own joke.
I'm trying not to laugh. He's right. 2009.
There are little animations where a player gets hit really hard and they get up and they're like shaken and they're like stumbling around, and that could not be in a game today. That in a football game today. There's no way you could have animations where a guy gets up and he stumbles around, or he sits on the ground and he's like shaking his head a little bit. Yeah. Like you with how we treat concussions today and what we know about concussions and stuff like that, I just don't think you could do a game and make animations like that. Another thing is I'm really what?
No, it's funny because an animation like that, I'm already thinking back in, if I was playing that in 2010, 2009.
Yeah.
Because they're a year behind when they make the game, like for next year. But I would see that animation and be like, wow, it's just like real life. Like, yeah, it's so real, you know? Real, but now that it's not there, it's just that, like.
But it's going to be interesting because I know there's another college football game that they're working on. EA has talked about this. But that's going to be interesting with the way that college football is monetized now. I don't know if you followed, but players can make money off of their name, image, and likeness now, which is why if you turn on the TV on a Saturday, you see college football players in commercials because they can make money off of that now. And that was a Supreme Court decision, and it was the correct decision. And I'm curious how Electronic Arts, and I think it's the NCAA that it's working with, are going to get around that because they definitely don't want to play the players because they're horrible. So how do you do that? I think, and that's going to be too bad because I think, I don't know. There's history to college football. College football has its own history that's separate from the NFL. So when you look through the history of college football, there are players there who made names for themselves doing things at the collegiate level, and schools have histories where it's like, guys in the 90s and the 2000s, it's not just USC, Ohio State, and Alabama that have long histories full of NFL players,
No, there's also Notre Dame.
And that's it. But it would be so awesome if you could play, and you can do this in previous college football games, but it would be so awesome if you could play as like, I think it was 2000, either 2000 or 2001, the Miami Hurricanes, one of the greatest college football teams ever, had Ed Reed and a bunch of other, I think it had like 4 Hall of Famers, guys that eventually went on to play in the Hall of Fame. Like really, really good teams. Joe Burrow's LSU team from a couple of years ago. It'd be so awesome if you could play these historically good college football teams and you have all their names. Just like with MLB The Show, you can play, these old baseball teams and, you can play as freaking Barry Bonds or whatever, right? But the problem with that is you'd have to pay those guys. And the last thing EA and the NCAA want to do is pay the players. But that's going to reduce I think the excitement of a college football game, because part of what made like NCAA good is that it sort of celebrates college football as a whole. Because unlike the NFL, college football has a different atmosphere. Every team has its own song and has little quirks about its stadium, you know. Clemson has a hill that the players run down. Maryland has a little statue of a turtle that guys pet when they run on onto the field. The University of Georgia has hedges around it. Oklahoma has the best stadium in the world with bricks around it, right? There's all these different little tiny things about
University of Texas is a dumpster fire.
Yeah, University of Texas, it's like you've just got animals running loose.
It's a crime against humanity.
It's a crime against humanity. But anyway, so there's all kinds of little things like that make college football distinct and different. Part of that is the players and celebrating that. And so if the NCAA and EA want to try and figure out how to get money off of the Notre Dame's brand without celebrating the players that made Notre Dame great, like Manti Te'o or Joe Montana or whatever, that's going to be a shame. Anyway, I've just been thinking about that.
What's going to happen is they're not going to have any images of the players, and it's just going to be position and number.
Well, but that's likeness. So if today a college football game came out, right, and you have, I'm blanking on a single, I can't think of a player's name. I watch college football every weekend. I can't think of a player's name at the moment, so whatever, screw me. But if you, like, in NCAA 10, the quarterback for Oklahoma is QB 14, who at the time was Sam Bradford, right? But that is his likeness, because that's clearly Sam Bradford. It's even his height, his weight, right? It's everything but his name.
You don't know that.
I do know that.
Oh, no.
Now, today, that's his likeness, right? So with today's NCAA, because players can make money off of name, image, and likeness, which is the way that it should be, that's likeness. So if you made a game the same way today, players could say, that is me, I want a piece of this pie. Which means if you made a game today and you're playing as Oklahoma, you couldn't have
I don't know.
Eric.
I think EA has lawyers that are smarter and more conniving than me that'll be able to make an argument that that will stand up in court, at least.
You could make the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, and the players are all just randomly generated.
Yeah.
That's how you would have to do it.
Yeah.
But that's going to be a disappointment, because you have the brand. So you're going to have college football, the brand, but not college football, the players. But to a lot of college football fans, half of the legacy of college football is the players, right? But that legacy is going to be, I think there's a chance that they try and get around that because they don't want to pay money for that.
I have a question for you. When was the last time that EA gave a shit about what fans wanted?
Well, yeah, never. So anyway, one more thing about NCAA 10. Brad Nessler is I don't know if you guys have ever heard Brad Nessler. Brad Nessler is such a good play-by-play guy. He does CBS now, and it's just, I don't know what they're going to do, but they need to get Brad Nessler to do the play-by-play, because he is I can't do Brad Nessler. I wish we had like a Brad Nessler cut, but he's like, 1st and 10, like he real quick quips, here comes the offense, back on the field. Like, I can't do Brad Nessler. Anyway, we ready to hit the end? Hit the end. Thanks for listening. If you like our content, please consider subscribing or leaving a like and comment. You can find us at patreon.com/thegamingdiscourse. And our tiers are $2, $4, $7, and $10 and include getting your name in the video credits, early access, and access to our Discord server. Okay, so let's get into this this Bayonetta pay dispute. This is messy, so I'm sorry. But it's just the way it's going to be.
Yeah.
So, a few weeks ago, Helena Taylor, who voiced Bayonetta in the first game and the second game, said she was offered only $4,000 to voice Bayonetta for Bayonetta 3. She talked about this in videos posted to her Twitter account. Among other things, she said this had adverse effects on her mental health, including suicidal thoughts. So there was some really serious content being talked about. And of course, you had this pay dispute. Okay, so that's a summarization of a lot that she said. On Tuesday, that came out on a weekend, I think, on like a Sunday. We talked
Yeah,
about
I
it
think so,
on
yeah.
a Monday,
Right.
Monday night. Tuesday morning, a couple stories dropped, including Jason Schreier at Bloomberg, Video Games Chronicle wrote a story that was really similar. Both stories disputing exactly what the real story was. According to sources and documents reported by Bloomberg, Platinum Games wanted to hire Taylor for 5 sessions, totaling out to $15,000. So it wasn't just a flat fee of $4,000. According to Bloomberg and documents, it was a $15,000 fee or rate, I guess, for a handful of sessions. They said that in response, Taylor asked for a 6-figure pay as well as residuals, and Platinum declined. So it was, here's the $15,000. She said, no, I want 6-figure, and I want residuals. Platinum said no. Taylor described that account as an absolute lie. All right, so today, Helena Taylor again posted more to Twitter. She called what Bloomberg and others have reported as fictions. I don't think she was accusing the outlets of lying. I think it was more, I'm just trying to characterize it correctly.
But as the information
More
they
of
were
the
given.
information they got was fictitious. And she clarified, according to her, Platinum Games' first offer was $10K, which she considered too low. She then wrote to the game's director to get another offer with another offer, and they offered her an extra $5K, which is the $15K that we see reported by Bloomberg and Video Game Chronicle. Taylor declined and heard nothing for 11 months. Then they offered her $4,000 to voice some lines, but it doesn't seem like it was to voice Bayonetta, at least according to her tweets. It seemed like it was to come back and voice some lines, but not $4,000 for the same job that was the $15,000. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay, so this is really weird and complicated.
Mhm.
Do we? And like I said at the beginning of the podcast last week, we shared our opinions. We thought there was something weird going on.
Yeah. Yes, we did.
Turns out we were right. Not a genius for thinking that, because I think a lot of people thought there was something weird going on.
Right. Yes. There were lots of information, lots of pieces of information in her videos that she said that everyone kind of pointed out as like, well, that's not really making sense. I know she mentioned something about 450 million
Yeah, how much
dollars.
Bayonetta made.
Yeah, no, it did not make that much. The first game did not do so well, and they wouldn't have got a second game if Nintendo didn't put the money for the second
because
game.
the second game was an exclusive, wasn't
Yes,
it?
it was exclusive for Wii U.
Yeah.
Which was a failed console.
Man.
And then it came in. So it's a very, very big cult following. I think the first game barely sold over 1 million. The second one, I don't think as much because it was on Wii U, and then it came to Switch. The third game is probably going to sell very well, but it's definitely not as popular as Helena is making it seem. I know that was one of the big things that people were pointing out.
Yeah.
I had something else, but explaining all that made me forget the.
Oh, okay, you remember what you were going to say, because I have a few things. Because I think
you go ahead. You go.
Okay, because this can be. I don't know, man. This is one of those things where I think that there's a bunch of things that are true at once. So like, are voice actors paid enough? Probably not. Probably not.
Probably.
And was Helena Taylor, was the money that she was going to get, did it meet the market? I don't know, maybe. Is the market ethical? Probably not. So those things are true. Was she clear in her videos about what was going on? No, definitely not. And even in these tweets, some stuff still doesn't totally make sense, isn't really clarified. Should anyone be harassed? No, for no reason. And this is just something it's human nature, and it's just the way that the internet is. You can go on Twitter and say that the sky is blue, and there's going to be people yelling anti-Semitic stuff at you. So you just can't do anything. And that, unfortunately, that's just a truth of human nature, and that's where we are now. Jennifer Hale got hate for what reason? I don't know. Helena Taylor, people were mad at her. I'm sure
that bled into lots of other voice actors and the industry for voice actors, because Because people assumed very wrongly that since Jennifer Hale took the job, she knew exactly what happened with the situation for Helena Taylor.
Which is just so many assumptions.
Yes,
so much.
right. Because, if you some way, somehow happen to get my position at my job, they're not going to tell you why it was like, why does it matter? You're the guy now,
Sure.
So,
yeah.
So that doesn't make sense. She had nothing to do with it. And then there was, I saw, because I think I follow him or he's just big enough in my circle, but Steve Bloom, who's the voice for Spike from Cowboy Bebop and Toonami on Cartoon Network, the little robot guy, and a bunch of other games, he basically had to come out and be like, can you guys stop? Because he was kind of vicariously getting attacked because he has close associations with Jennifer Hale. And so people were kind of like getting at him to get at Jennifer so that she could say something, she needs to say something when she doesn't, it doesn't matter. Yeah. So it's all clear. People suck.
Yeah, that is, by the way,
anonymity sucks.
That is cancel culture, loaded phrase, right?
Absolutely.
And again, when Ted Cruz talks about cancel culture, it's because
he doesn't want to take accountability.
He doesn't want to take accountability. Okay. When people like Lindsay Ellis talk about cancel culture, there's a very specific, very different phenomenon, which is, and that's a bad phrase because it's so loaded now, but it's just people outraged who want some form of retribution or feel that justice hasn't been served. So the way they go about it becomes a form of harassment. And that's a good way. Because there are other ways where one famous person screws up and then other people get harassed or bombarded because they have an association with that person. And so it's like the demand by the mob is you need to speak out about this person and the situation that has nothing to do with you. And I think that's a really good example of that. And unfortunately, that shapes discussions when it shouldn't, which is why I think it's useful to just go through all these factual statements and just say, yes or no, is this true? And so it's like, there's all the things, another thing, should you boycott the game? I think that's up to people. If you think what happened was intolerable, I think it's up to you to boycott the game. My opinions on boycotting, it's a personal thing. People should boycott whatever you want to boycott. I don't believe in telling other people they should boycott things. Yeah. At least when it comes to video games in this specific instance. But that
it's going to be really tough to discern what people should be paid when it comes to voice acting, because there's various ranges of difficulty for voice acting, and so it's very tough because it's like I'm not trying to like belittle Helena or anything, but the voice of Bayonetta is kind of just standard dominant British woman. It's not, there's nothing, she doesn't do anything like terribly special or anything, it fits her personality, absolutely, but not like a ton of stress as like Abby or Ellie. I know they motion capped it as well, but voice goes with that, and so lots of screams, lots of like stress on the vocal cords. That would be tough to kind of like have this like set amount of pay for like.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Yeah, no, that's a very, very tricky subject.
I have no idea.
That's probably where like the contracts come in and stuff like that. So
yeah, and if we had a voice, maybe I don't know how that industry works. I don't know if it's something. Maybe unions will state, if it's more strenuous work, if it's more likely that you're gonna hurt your vocal cords or something like that. Maybe there's some form of like hazard pay. I don't know. In acting and voice acting, maybe there's something like that.
I wonder if her not coming back the first time. This is me musing about something else, but her not coming back the first time had to deal with Bayonetta 3 being delayed for so long, because it was announced in 2017. Yes, it was announced in 2017. We're not getting it since 2022, and people kept asking where it was. So she said she's declined and heard nothing for 11 months. And then they offered $4,000 for her to just do some lines.
Yeah, I'll find the tweet, because the tweet was really interesting.
So now we know regarding the story pieces that we've gotten from the trailers is that we're dealing with a multiverse in Bayonetta. Everybody's doing multiverses now, but we're gonna meet multiple Bayonettas like in the game. So they probably like changed the story because the Bayonetta we're playing in this game is not the same one from the first 2 games. So you were supposed to meet the original one in this game. So they probably changed the story to fit her not coming back, and that's probably why it took over 11 months. I'm kind of just throwing that out there. I don't think that's correct because that's a lot of development time to like change a whole story.
That's a lot of that. Okay, so
sorry, I'm just
so much of Bayonetta
conspiracy theory.
So much of
Charlie in front of the board.
So much of what the hell is going on with. Would you calm down and have another cup of coffee? No, so much of what's going on with Bayonetta. Bayonetta itself makes it more complicated.
Yeah,
which is like which it's just like Metal Gear Solid, the Metal Gear Solid debate. They should have brought David Hayter back, and that Snake wasn't Snake. God damn it! Like I don't want to hear excuses. No, like the context of the game itself makes it much more complicated. Okay, I'm going to do some live on air tweet.
Editing. Beep boop bop.
Yeah, so I declined to voice the game after the $15,000 offer. Then I heard nothing for 11 months. This is how she writes the sentence. They then offered me a flat fee to voice some lines for $4,000.
Okay.
So to me I think that indicates that what the $4,000 was not the same gig as the $15,000.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Right? Now, again, was the $15,000 right? Was the $4,000 right? I don't know. Just the fact that those are 2 separate things. Okay? And it was I don't think that was clear enough in the video, because in the video it seemed like $4,000 was the highest she got offered.
Right, which is probably
seems outrageous.
when she made the video, she mentally was at that point and not the entire situation.
This is a lesson in.
We're still on this. We're not going to know.
Yeah, like all this is really. I think the closest we're probably going to get to a truth that is super clean is the reporting, because the reporting had documents. It had documents and had sources. So, Video Game Chronicle, Bloomberg. That's probably the closest we're going to get to. Like
what happened?
Here's as close to the truth as we can get. But yeah, as for the real world truth, we're never going to know. However, should actors be paid more? Probably. Yeah, probably. Yeah. They probably should be paid.
Everyone should be paid more.
Yeah. And I think it's that simple.
Yeah. So one thing on here about the pay that a lot of people I don't think understand about the recording process is, let's say the game is 20 hours long. It's not 20 hours of work, right? So when we recorded our EP, my band, the songs came out to a total of like 14 minutes, right? That was 80 hours of work for 14 minutes. That's 80 hours in the studio, plus all the other stuff, writing, all that stuff, inconsequential, but 80 hours in the studio recording. So it's not equivalent to be like, oh, it's 20 hours long, they're getting paid for that. No, they're getting paid for a lot more. So that number is stretched, like the 15,000 is stretched out over a longer period of time. So because you were talking earlier about someone talking about the hourly pay for it.
Well, yeah, and that's kind of a different topic.
It is, and this also ties into kind of what you were saying with it's not necessarily strenuous work,
Sure, yeah. I wasn't like insinuating.
No, I got that, but I think it does need to be said that I did some voice work in college for a project that a friend was doing, and it was 8 hours. Mm-hmm. At the end of it, my voice was gone.
Sure.
Recording for long periods of time does a number on your voice.
Sure, yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it's not necessarily like a super intensive voice to do, but you do it enough for a long period of time, recording all day, because recording sessions take all day. Because you mess up a line, they want you to say it a little bit differently. They want you to say this word a little bit differently. They want you to go back and say this word with this inflection. Everything you hear isn't one take. It is a Frankenstein of mini takes put together.
Sure. Yeah.
And so after all of that, it is hard work doing that, people think, voice actors go into a booth and talk for an hour and a half and then they're done and they leave and they cash this big paycheck. No, it is lots of work.
Sure. Yeah.
And I feel that should be said, that even if it seems like it's a easy voice to do something as simple as picking up a 5-pound barbell for an hour. Just one pickup, just keep picking it up for an hour. Your arm will be dead at the end of that hour. Doesn't matter what it is.
Yeah.
Long, strenuous stuff will wreck you.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. I think that's well said. Okay, Richard, what's going on at Konami?
Silent Hill is making a comeback. 5 new projects have been announced from Konami. We are looking at a Silent Hill 2 remake for PS5 and PC for at least a year, made by Bloober Team in cooperation with Masahiro Ito, the series artist, and composer Akira Yamaoka. Silent Hill Townfall, which will be a spin-off by No Code Studios and being published by Annapurna Interactive. They're a publisher, right? Or no, co-developed. They're developed. Annapurna is a publisher, right? Why isn't Konami published on that one? Or is they a developer on this one?
So, Harry, say your question again.
Sorry. I know I'm supposed to be reading the news. Yeah. Silent Hill F, another spin-off or it's Sharp, I don't know, whichever one. Another spin-off by Neobards, a Taiwanese studio, and the story will be written by Ryukishi 0707, a Japanese visual novelist. Silent Hill Ascension, which was described as an interactive streaming series, and Return to Silent Hill, which will be a new movie adaptation directed by Christopher Gans, who made the first film. No release dates for any of these titles have been given.
All right, so what was the Annapurna Interactive thing?
So Silent Hill Townfall is a spin-off by No Code Studios and Annapurna Interactive. Annapurna Interactive is usually a publisher, but I think they develop stuff as well.
I don't know if they develop stuff.
They are definitely a publisher.
They're definitely a publisher.
So it's interesting that they're publishing this and not Konami.
Yeah.
Or maybe co-publishing.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah, I'm looking at a gamesindustry.biz story and publisher Annapurna Interactive.
Are they credible?
What was that?
Are they credible?
They're incredible.
Oh, okay.
I've actually...
Sorry.
I've actually played Stories Untold. I liked it. It was kind of a weird visual horror game.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you're sitting at a computer. It's really interesting. And you go through menus, and as you go through the menus, things happen around you, but nothing ever happens. It's kind of an interesting way to tell a horror story. Okay. So, what do you think about Bloober Team and Silent Hill 2?
I don't know if I said this. I don't know if I said this in the chat. I think I did. I started laughing when my friend sent me the image because I had missed the stream. Mm-hmm. I was at work and I had missed the stream and I just forgot about it. And I saw the image and I saw Bloober Team and I started laughing. Because Bloober Team, since 2016, has pumped out 6 horror titles. One a year, basically. Layers of Fear 1 and 2, Observer, Blair Witch, Medium, and I'm missing the other one.
Oh, I have no idea.
Anyways. And you like Observer.
Yeah, there are things I really dislike about it.
Right.
But I think it's mostly a good game. Mostly.
But even before this announcement, the public or the gamer perception of Bloober Team was that their games were, I don't want to use the word middling, but they weren't exceptional. They weren't terrible. They were just kind of like this mid-range developer. But it seemed like every time, at least the last 2 or 3 releases that they'd come out with a game, it felt like they were always like, we want to do Silent Hill. We want to do a Silent Hill. And they shouted loud enough that Konami was like, yeah, okay. Sure. They gave them Silent Hill 2.
Yeah.
A remake Silent Hill 2. Which, until we see something, I don't know what to think.
I don't know what to think either. Stephanie Sterling has a really good video on the Medium, which I think is interesting. Breaking apart, the Medium handles topics of mental health and mental illness and stuff like that. And I haven't played the Medium, but in their video, they do a nice job showing how they believe that the Medium handles it poorly and distastefully. Not maliciously, but just sort of amateur. And if you're going to handle delicate topics like that, you don't want to handle them indelicately, right? And Silent Hill 2 handles some of those same topics, and it's horror. So one of their resistances or hesitances about Bloober Team is that this is a studio that hasn't shown to be able to handle complex, delicate topics within the context of horror.
Right.
And so that was a criticism that I thought was really well made, and I thought it was really interesting. One of the problems with Observer is Observer falls into style over substance, which is bothersome. There's a part in Observer where it becomes run and hide horror, and it's just super generic and dumb, and I hated that because so much of Observer was really cool. So, and Observer has sold really well, and a lot of people like it, and I think most of the game is pretty good. But yeah, so I think, when the game, I think this has probably led a lot of people to hope that it fails because they want to be right about disliking Bloober or whatever.
Yeah, sure.
I'm in the same boat you are, though. Release and see what happens. However, I do think it's interesting that they got the Silent Hill remake because, Kojima and Guillermo del Toro and Norman Reedus were doing and not just them three, obviously.
Yeah,
but they were doing a Silent Hills revival. And you think a big giant title like this, you're going to put it in the hands of somebody who has hit a couple home runs before. So you put it in Kojima's hands. That history, we're not sure exactly what happened. But it is interesting that it falls into... Now, what studio, if you ask me, okay, Tyler, you big smarty pants, what studio would you give it to? I don't know.
I couldn't tell you either.
Paradox Interactive.
Yeah, the religion of this building is Satanist, and in this building over here, it's still demon worshippers. And
It was a different demon.
yeah, but the pyramid head guy, he's not killing anyone today because he's unhappy because his taxes are too high. So not Paradox Interactive. So I don't know who you would give it to, but I think. I also I tried to think of like previous remakes, and there are studios that like the Resident Evil 4 VR. I don't know if that studio had anybody. Yeah, Armature. I don't know if anybody worked on a Resident Evil 4 from Armature, but that was amazing. There's no way all these remakes, the studios that have done them, have been people who were involved with like a bunch of people who were heavily involved with the original games, right? Like, I just don't think so.
Right.
And remaking video games, there's same stuff about remaking movies, right?
Right.
What do you want to add? What do you want to change? What's too much?
The thing about Armature of Resident Evil 4 is that they just made it into VR. They didn't do anything with the game.
But even the VR aspect was incredibly well done.
But this is a full remake, retelling of the story and whatnot. So that's a little worrisome.
Fresh coat of paint.
Because Silent Hill 2 does have some themes to it that need to be hit correctly. It's the reason why people love it, and definitely some aesthetics that need to be addressed as well, correctly for fans to really appreciate it. Or they can just change. They just need to modernize it. Like Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil 3. Well, not so much Resident Evil 3, but Resident Evil 2 remake. Mm-hmm. Just modernize it, cut out maybe some fluff. I would probably say throughout the 20 years that game has been out, probably take into account what people have criticized about the game, like throughout all those years, and then kind of...
I've never played it.
Adhere to it.
You'd have to tell me what it was.
I can tell you about the first couple of hours, because that game is scary as hell.
Really?
So, I'm not a scary guy. I'm not a scary game guy.
I need to play that game.
Yeah.
How close is it to Resident Evil? Silent Hill 4.
Oh, they're different. So all right. God.
Break out the Raspberry Pi.
that's not strong enough. No one likes Silent Hill 4 in the fandom.
Yeah,
everyone hates it. That's considered the black sheep because it wasn't a Silent Hill game. Apparently it was a different horror game, and then they're like Silent Hill, and they just kind of
interesting.
Yeah, and I hate when fans do that because they don't get to dictate that. But I thought Silent Hill 4, I hadn't played it, but I thought the concept was cool as hell.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what did you ask me?
I'm going to challenge you on
forgot.
that real quick,
Yeah.
Richard, that they don't get to dictate that. They
Oh,
do
sure.
get to dictate that, but with their wallets, and it's
That's
sold
true.
well. So
That's
it
true.
is a Silent Hill game.
Yeah, it is. You bet your ass it says Silent Hill on it.
People bought it up like candy.
But so yeah, I couldn't tell you the comparison. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. How could one go about playing Silent Hill 2 today?
Today, I don't know. I can get you Silent Hill 3 at least. I can get
But
you
the
Silent
Raspberry
Hill.
Pi can't handle Silent Hill 2? We're
God,
talking
no.
about something completely
it
different now.
It can barely handle PSP.
Damn. Okay.
Sorry.
Anyway,
I'll take care of it.
I don't know where
Let
Konami.
Papa Rich take care of you. All right?
I don't know where Konami has been. I don't know what made it suddenly change its tune. Maybe it saw that a bunch of people started remaking their games and made money. But whatever they did, I don't know what happened to Konami. Maybe the fucking CEO stepped down and the CEO's snot-nosed brat son took over and wanted to get into hit the lever with pachinko machines, and then everyone got tired of that guy, so they canned him and brought back somebody who was like, how about, who did the bare minimum and said, how about we remake Silent Hill 2? And Jenkins, you're a genius. And so here we are with launching a bunch of Silent Hill stuff. But this is good. And it's also good for horror games because there was that thing about horror games don't sell, but it's like, no, they don't sell well enough for you because you're an asshole. They sell plenty well.
Tyler, gamers don't want single-player horror cowboy games.
They got one, Red Dead Redemption 2, which is a horror game.
Yeah.
No, but anyway, but I'm glad that that's happening, and yeah, I think with the Silent Hill 2 remake, and also it's going to be interesting because I think there's a bunch of people like me who never played Silent Hill 2. There's a lot of people who probably act like they played it because they watched the playthrough on YouTube, so they're like, I played it. But it'll be interesting when it comes out because my perspective is going to be different from yours, right? Because I'm going to play it, and maybe I love it.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I'm not going to have the context of, well, in this part, they changed this thing. And I was like, oh, I didn't know that.
Does that matter at the end of the day if you enjoyed it?
Well, I think I'm pretentious, so I think there's a critical nugget there that's interesting.
At least you're honest about it.
Because, if the only Star Trek you've ever seen is Star Trek Picard and you love it, that's like, it's fine.
Obviously, you need to watch Enterprise.
It's fine that you love it, but you need to watch Jonathan Archer Space Day. No, you need to, but it's like, but my argument would be, okay, it's fine if you like it, but it is a bad show, and I can break down why within the context of Next Generation. So, like, if Silent Hill 2 comes out, the remake, and people like me like it, but people like you, Richard, who played Silent Hill 2 and know it, I guess, fairly well, don't like it, and you have like comparison reasons that made the first game better, I think that's interesting. Now, my enjoyment is personal, but whether or not the remake did a good job, I think that's a more complicated question that we'll have to answer and just wait till it comes out. I'm rooting for Bloober Team. I hope they nail it. But
No, I agree. So real quick about like how can you play this? I forgot there is a PC version of Silent Hill 2. It's a little difficult to find, so you could probably download it somewhere. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And then secondly, there was an HD re-release for PS3 and 360. It's known for being not great though. So because they like lost the code, I think, and they had to recompile everything, and they did some like really weird shit. Like they changed the, the famous sign where it's like "Welcome to Silent Hill." It's in Comic Sans now for some reason. And they like redubbed the voice actors, and they did a bunch of things.
There is a PC version?
Yeah, there is a PC version. I forgot there was. However, it was never released like digitally. I think it's only physical, so like copies are like astronomical price. But I mean, you can obviously find.
Oh man,
the executable and everything, and no one cares at this point. It's been 20 years. So.
I'm gonna have to see if someone can sail the salty seas for me.
I can do that.
Okay, well, we can't say this on a podcast.
Yeah, we can.
Connor, what's going on Netflix? Do we have anything else we want to say about the Silent Hill stuff?
So not Silent Hill, but along with Silent Hill, Resident Evil 4. There's a trailer for it. Oh my god, it looks so good.
I'm excited
the
for
remake.
that.
Did you see it? Did you see it? Come on, dude.
I'm not watching
Don't
it.
do this to me.
I'm doing
Don't do
media
this to me.
blackout. But that's
You've already played it.
but I haven't played the original one, right?
You played the VR version. It's the original one, just the VR
version is different.
It's not.
It's different.
It's the same
different.
damn
It's
game.
different.
Oh man, no, you know. Hey, you're like my. All right, no, sorry. Real
This
quick.
one's not the original. It's blue, not
Right.
midnight blue.
No. It's a quick segue. You're just like
Frank Cifaldi would agree with me.
There was a guy in my store with his kid, right? And he goes, "Did you ever play Donkey Kong Country?" And the kid's like, "Yeah, I played Donkey Kong Country. It's on the Switch. It's on the Switch Online, and I played it on the Switch." "Yeah, but you haven't played this one." It's like, no, it's the same fucking game. Like the Super Nintendo one. You haven't played that one. That's where it's at. It's like, dude, that's the same. It's literally the same game, Tyler.
and he has a Super Nintendo hooked up to a 4K TV, and there's an older person who's like, "Have you played Donkey Kong Country?" He's like, "Yeah, I played it right now." "No, you haven't played it on a 1985 CRT TV."
I did that to another kid. He's like, "Do you have any, GameCubes?" And I was like, "Yeah, I got GameCubes for like $110. Or you can get a Wii for $60 that plays those games as well. Like, it's innately a GameCube." "Yeah, but it's not the same, man. You know how it is." No,
that's not how it is.
It's the same. Like, the only thing you remember, the only nostalgia is you closing the fucking tray and pressing the power button and then looking up at the game the rest of the time. It's inconsequential that box is doing anything else but playing the game.
The thing they remember
is
the little sound when the GameCube.
It doesn't do that on the Wii. That's true. No. So you just get the audio from YouTube.
You're not supposed to say that. You're the guy that's selling everything.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be like,
I'm trying to save people money. I'm not trying to perform highway robbery here.
I don't know why.
Good old anti-capitalism right there.
"Hey, you stupid fucking kid. This is $60. That's $110. You moron. Don't support my business." Pay off the price. I'm kidding. Richard is principled. I respect that. It's noble.
You're a principal?
No, he's principled. Talk about Netflix now.
Netflix is exploring cloud gaming. According to Mike Perdue, Netflix's VP on gaming, who was speaking at TechCrunch, he said, "It adds value. We're not asking you to subscribe as a console replacement. It's a completely different business model. The hope is over time that it just becomes a very natural way to play games wherever you are."
Do we think this is I don't know, do we think it's a better strategy?
No.
Than Stadia? Do we think it's a strategy that makes sense? Because I don't. Because if
it's going to be integrated within Netflix itself, probably better.
There was
better than cloud.
There's a tidbit in the story about the IP being 50% is Netflix IP on this thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, so you don't want.
Did Google sell to Netflix? Did Google sell Stadia to Netflix? Slipped it over to them with a 20.
You go, yeah. Take it. We don't want it anymore.
We're getting rid of this. You can have it.
It's broken, but...
No, so, you're not trying to replace a console. Now, that's what Stadia was trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
So, fine.
Mm-hmm.
So what's the point of your service then? We want to stream some games as to add value to Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
So then, so you're going to have what? Exclusives? Are you going to have Netflix exclusive games that you can play on your platform? That's going to be it for your service. Is your service because it's an added value. Let's say a game comes out and I can play it on Netflix, or I can play it on Game Pass, or I can play it on my PS5. Netflix is going to be way down on that list, especially as Netflix releases the shit with ads and whatever.
Whatever they do.
And lessens the value of its video streaming service, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I am more open to the idea of not being a replacement for consoles just because Stadia annoyed me so much. But at the same time, I don't know if this strategy makes a whole lot of sense because it seems like it's just a way for
This is
Netflix.
just Diet Stadia.
It's just a way for Netflix to put their own games out there. But how big is that market going to be if to me, I think the big selling point is Netflix games, which means you have to have some kind of killer app to make people really want it.
The biggest question on this is how is it played?
Yeah.
It's phone, correct? Can you play it on your TV? I don't think you can play the games on your TV.
I'm not sure. Yeah, there's a couple games where you can play on your TV.
Is there?
Like the Minecraft game, you can play on your TV because it's the Telltale one, so you just have to press whatever you need to.
Okay.
because it's contextual, but I don't know about others.
Because that's going to be very limiting to what's going to be on there. So it's not going to be necessarily a game that's released on Game Pass and on everything else. It's going to be a Netflix game.
Yeah.
So the reason I said it's Diet Stadia is because it has all the same issues that Stadia potentially has, but it's not going to be as expansive as Stadia. It's going to be very, very select games. It is going to be games designed for Netflix or games that can be easily ported to a Netflix
streaming box, of some sort.
App or platform, which are going to be point and click adventures.
Yeah, I guess I just find that strange because to me that doesn't add. They want it to add value. To me, that doesn't add a ton of value.
No,
it's more of like a gimmick. It's like, that's kind of neat, I guess. Can you not do ads and give me Stranger Things season 6 or whatever?
Yeah.
You know, just like to me that's kind of it. But whatever. Okay.
I think there's a perception to like approach when it comes to this. When Netflix started, of course, the perception was like, look, Blockbuster sucks. No late fees. Here you go. Like that was its perception, and people bought it. They're not. It doesn't sound like they're pushing this too hard because they already have a handful of games on Netflix's service. It sounds like
they're just trying to drum up more attention to it.
Yeah, not only that, but the way they want to approach it is just like, here you go. Here's Netflix. Here's some games too. Like just on the side, because if it comes along with your service and they're not forcing it on you, like Stadia was like, this is going to be the new way to play games. They're not. It's just like, here's Netflix and some games. Like,
sure.
You know.
Yeah. Yep.
I think normal average person, probably maybe even kids, if they're browsing through Netflix and they see Minecraft, what is that? You know, they just like, because it's probably the amount of time somebody at least just clicks on it to them is probably more important than what they're putting out or what they'll reap from it.
Yeah,
because they're going to get their money no matter what if somebody plays that game or not. So I don't know. I think it's a better pill to swallow if it's just there and someone comes across it rather than them trying to be like, here's games that you can stream.
Sure.
You know, so.
It just, this puts them
which I'm sure they will do, but
this puts them in a totally different, almost a totally different market.
Because that's what Microsoft does. Yeah.
They're not trying to compete. Like Stadia was trying to compete with Sony and Microsoft.
Yeah.
Netflix just doesn't. Netflix is doing its own thing. Like
To me, Netflix doing this is equivalent of the dinosaur game in the Chrome browser when your internet's out. Because it is 100% a game,
which is Google's most successful video game.
Yeah. Which is yes, it is 100% a video game. That dinosaur game is fucking fun. I will die on that hill. I have a high score in that game of over 20,000.
Flappy Bird who?
But the question is, I mean, not pulling apart. Is it game? Like, is it going to be a competitor in gaming, or which obviously no, that doesn't need to be asked. That answer is going to be a no. It's just a thing they're doing.
I think for April Fools, I'll do a review of the dinosaur game, and I'll give it a.
Well, you gave it away now.
I'll give it an official gaming discourse grade. So.
S plus.
And I'll play it. I'll play it. So in playtime, I'll put like 600 hours. High score 2,000.
250.
Yeah, a lot of cacti killing my dino. Fucking pterodactyls.
Harder than Dark Souls.
This is the Souls-like. This is the Dark Souls of side-scrolling dinosaur mobile browser-based games.
This year, Google has brought us their own version of Dark Souls.
Okay.
It's just booting up Chrome.
Taking up all your resources.
Okay. Let's do the tidbits. A man discusses the news, but not like the big news, the little news. Little bit. This is the tidbits.
Got 2 tidbits today.
Hey.
All right. The first one is Symbiogenesis has been trademarked in Japan. Square Enix created this new trademark for the word symbiogenesis, which is a real word. But this is important because symbiogenesis specifically refers to the merging of two separate organisms into a single organism, which in turn is the basis of the story for Parasite Eve. Parasite Eve was originally a book series, which eventually became a major hit for Square Enix in the late 90s with Parasite Eve 1 and 2. Parasite Eve really blended RPG elements, like Final Fantasy type elements, with like with Resident Evil style gameplay. It was really cool. But fans have been asking for a new one since the last game, which was not great because they didn't. It was called The Third Birthday, and it was not great. Focused more on her clothes tearing off than an actual story, and it didn't even go toward. It wasn't even had nothing to do with the book series. It was dumb. Anyways,
Okay. Interesting.
so I hope we get a new. You know, a lot of people are remaking a lot of classic games. It's around that time, and I think Parasite Eve should be next. Absolutely. But anyways, next one. This is mine. I'm excited for this. A Castlevania game for Gamecom has finally been shown. The Gamecom or Game.com, however you want to say it. I don't know. You guys have never seen this thing. It was a Tiger Electronics handheld.
I may have.
It was released in 1997. It had a black and white pixel screen, internet capabilities. It was the first handheld to have a touch screen. An awful system, god awful system. It was able. They got licenses for like Resident Evil 2, Duke Nukem, Sonic, and also Castlevania. They also
I
had.
have seen this before. Okay.
They also had a couple others, but Castlevania Symphony of the Night was supposed to release on the Gamecom, but of course, due to failure of the console and other issues, the game was never released. And for years, we only had a very rough like JPEG image to go off of, like from a like magazine.
Sure.
So it's just like you're kind of squinting at it. And it's funny because the JPEG image is like, it's like they just took an image from the PS1 game and just grayscaled it. So they didn't. So it's like, oh, this is the Gamecom game. Anyways, in 2019, someone apparently acquired a copy of Symphony of the Night for Gamecom, along with the label and the prototype version of the game. Just yesterday, video of the game actually running was uploaded to YouTube.
What?
And it is one of the most impressively awful things I have ever seen in my life. I sat there watching this video like this, and every now and again going, and my wife's like, what's going on? And it's ostensibly an extremely faithful port of the PS1 game. For the most part, there's no beginning battle with Dracula, because there's a beginning battle with Dracula, but there's an encounter, and then there's, you know, what's that phrase? You know, storytelling, exposition, and then you start playing the game, and everything, it looks a little fat. Well, I'll probably have you guys load it up, but everything looks a little fat. It sounds awful. It looks terrible. So LCD screens in the 80s and 90s had a problem with ghosting. So when your character would move or something would move, everything would leave like a very big trail of after images. The Gamecom, everything left an after image. Oh. So when you're watching this thing in motion, the guy has a lit up a front lit Gamecom game that he's recording off camera. The whole screen is just filled with black blur from moving. It's all, anyways. I hate it. Other canceled games for the Gamecom were Command & Conquer, Metal Gear Solid, Shadow Madness, and Sonic 3D Blast. Tiger Electronics, have you guys ever seen, they're like little square, it's like they have a Mortal Kombat one, they have a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, it's basically any license you can think of, they had like a little LCD like game of it. Those guys, they made this thing.
Okay.
Anyways, a very exciting time for me yesterday, and of course right now, but I'll show you guys that video afterwards. It's bad. Alrighty.
Real quick. I have one tidbit.
Oh, sure.
Guys, it is happening in 10 and a half hours.
Okay.
Victoria 3 is finally releasing.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yes. I am super excited for this.
Okay, all right. You got to explain Victoria.
Okay, so Victoria 3 is a socioeconomic simulator.
Okay, well, yeah, I could have gathered that
one. Well, what else do I need to say?
Oh, okay. Is that one
simple enough?
That one's nice. Is that one similar to? I don't even think they're in the same genre, like Port Royal. Okay, so is it dealing with ships and like porting?
Well,
no.
Okay, it's in the same vein as every other Paradox Grand Strategy. You know, massive politics, but it's set during the Victorian era.
All right.
the 1830s and the 1930s, even though neither of those are technically Victorian, but neither here nor there.
People just say that anyway.
But yeah, it's a Paradox Grand strategy.
Okay.
So lots of UI.
Yeah.
One of the things they showed off today was UI scaling, which that tells you anything about.
Hot damn.
Yeah.
Hot damn.
Well, they increased the UI scaling for the stream, and commentator made a comment on it because he was like, I don't want to see anything about like, playing with too large of a UI in the comments, and the comments were just filled with UI's too big. But yeah, so it's a socioeconomic simulator. So you select a country. You're given it at the start of it, so it has its enacted laws, resources, populations, all that stuff. Military, you have all of it to use at your disposal, and to change yourself and influence other nations into changing.
Okay, cool. You're going to be playing it first day.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so yeah.
It launches at 7 a.m. I'm going to be there playing it as soon as I can.
All right, yeah, let us know how it is next week.
Have fun. Be responsible. Stay safe.
Nope.
Do we have NPDs?
Mexico, here we come.
We do have NPDs.
NPD.
Let me load them up here. Alrighty. Same spiel as always. Taken verbatim from Matt Piscatella over on Twitter.
Matty Ice.
Boy Matt.
Our boy Matt.
I don't have a nickname for him. Anyways, U.S. consumer spending on video game content, hardware, and accessories reached $4.1 billion during the month of September 2022, decline of 4% when compared to the same month a year ago. Hardware was the best performing segment during September, led by double-digit percentage growth for both PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series consoles. Year-to-date total video game spending across content, hardware, and accessories is now 8% lower than 2021 at $38.4 billion. It's less than the Activision merger. Hardware sales in September increased 19% when compared to a year ago, the third consecutive month of double-digit percentage growth. Improved supply of PlayStation 5 was a primary driver of the increase, with PlayStation 5 ranking first in both unit and dollar sales. I'm very certain that they're making a lot more PS5s than they're letting on for holiday season.
Oh, you think so?
Oh, yeah. I think so. Anyways.
Interesting. Okay.
Nintendo, well, I mean, we're going to see the NPD sooner or later, so.
Yeah.
Nintendo Switch ranked second in unit sales among hardware platforms in the month, while Xbox Series placed second in dollar sales. Video game content spending fell 7% in the month of September versus a year average to $3.4 billion. Content performance was driven by double-digit percentage gain on non-mobile video game subscription spending, which was offset by the declines across other content segments. All right. 6 new video game releases ranked among the top 8 best-selling titles of the month in tracked spending. You guys want to take any guesses?
Wait, say that one more time.
6 new video game releases ranked among the top 8 best-selling games of the month. Spending.
Did Madden? No, Madden released a while ago.
Games released recently.
Modern Warfare 2, right? Did that release yet?
No, that released last week, so that won't be on the NPDs today.
Oh, okay.
This is for September.
For September? Oh, geez. I should know this because we talk about the games industry every week, but I'm going to be drawing a blank.
Yeah, I got nothing.
All right, that's fine. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure All-Star Battle is at number 8. TMNT, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Cowabunga Collection, was at number 6.
Okay.
Last of Us Part 1 was number 5.
Interesting.
Splatoon 3 was number 4.
Ah, damn it.
NBA 2K23 was at number 3.
That's the obvious sports
and
one.
FIFA 23
that's the other
was number 1.
I thought FIFA released earlier in the summer. Damn it.
Yeah. Sorry.
Right.
Did you guys see the screenshots going around of the game on, I want to say it was Xbox, that's using art from NBA 23, but not NBA 23?
No.
Oh, yeah. They like have a screw
in
up like this every time.
23,
yeah.
It's like a really terrible game, but it's using the art from NBA 23.
Is that on?
Oh, really?
Is that like a mobile game? Is it just one of those mobile?
I don't know if it's a mobile game, but it looks like hot garbage.
Interesting.
But
okay.
It was set to sell at $60, but was on sale for $10.
Oh yeah, all right, of course.
Oh jeez.
Yeah.
Trying to get those knee-jerk sales.
Okay.
People just see the art and they're like, getting it. It's on sale.
Yeah, that's like was it NBA 2K20? Like when you would play in the stadiums, like the banners would still say NBA 2K19 because they didn't change them. Anyways, last part of the NPD's accessory spending in September was flat when compared to a year ago, $174 million. This is the first month since October of 21 in which accessory spending did not experience a year-on-year decline. And I didn't put it up here, but the Xbox controller was the best-selling controller again.
Okay.
The Series 2 controller.
It's okay. It's interesting that PlayStation is leading in console sales, but that's by dollar. Did they lead in units this month? But they, actually,
ranking first in both unit and dollars. Yeah,
because they have ranked in first in units. It's been them and like the Switch for the past year, right?
They've ranked first in sales, but Switch is ranked first in units. Yeah, the last couple months.
Okay.
I think there was like a month where PS5 won both.
But that's interesting that the Xbox. Oh, you know what? It's probably a lot of PC stuff too. For the PC market, probably will lean toward the Xbox controller more to have habit.
Absolutely, yes, they will. The Series controller is a choice product for those who really want to gain an edge on their gaming because they're too bad to do it on a normal controller.
That's right. Okay. Anything else?
No.
Follow us on Twitter and Facebook at The Gaming Discourse. Go to our YouTube channel, YouTube/Gaming Discourse, Patreon.com/The Gaming Discourse. And we will see you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.